Welcome to another part of our CSS tutorial. In this part, I will go over adding multiple columns to your text. You can add multiple columns. For example, if I use the column count property, with this property, you specify how many columns you want to split the element into. So I'll add the column count property to my p tag, which is the paragraph you see on the right hand side in the blue background. So I'll add a column dash count, and for its value I'll give 2. So it'll split the element into 2 columns, as you see. If I give, for example, 3, then it'll add 3 columns, and so on. Also note that for older browsers, for example, if you use an older version of Firefox, you also need to add -moz prefix. And if you're using older versions of Safari, Chrome, for example, you need to give a -webkit prefix. So it's better to give all 3 versions so that it works on all different browsers. So going further, I won't add any prefixes to support different types of browsers. I'll just use the standard notations. You can also use the column gap property. If you write column dash gap, it'll specify the gap between each column. So if I give, for example, 60 pixels, it'll add 60 pixels of space between the 2 columns. So if I save and refresh, here you see it increased the gap. So I'll just remove the gap. I won't put it. You can also use the column width property, which is column dash width. And with this, if you specify, for example, I'll specify 100 pixels. You only need to remove the column count. So if I save and refresh, now it will have columns of 100 pixels. It will add as many columns as it can fit, which is 100 pixels wide. As you can see, if I refresh and resize the browser, it will add multiple columns, as you see here. So if I had left the column count, for example, and not used this, and then refresh and resized, in this case it just keeps 2 columns. You can also use the column fill property, which specifies how you can fill a column. So for example, if I give auto, by default it's balanced, meaning all the columns it will try to keep the same size. So if I make, for example, auto, and with auto you need to have a height property set for your element as well. So for example, if I don't and refresh, as you see, it just filled all the text into 1 column. So if I had given height of, for example, 500 pixels, now if I save and refresh, now you see that it filled the first column as much as it can, then it went on to the next column. You also see that the columns aren't balanced with auto. If you make it balance, now it'll keep the same height of the columns. Now I'll just remove these 2, column fill and height. So if I save and refresh, this is currently what it looks like. You can also give the column rule style property, which is column dash rule dash style. It will style the gap that is between the 2 columns. So for example, if I give it dashed, it will add a line between the columns. So if I save and refresh, here you see it added a dashed line. Or you can give any other ones, like solid, for example, or dotted. You can also give the color that you want. So if you write column dash rule dash color, and if I give red, it will add the red dotted line as you see here. You can also specify the width by writing column dash rule dash width. And for example, if I give 10 pixels, these dotted line will be 10 pixels wide. So if I save and refresh, here you see it increased the size of the dots. If you wanted, you can use the shorthand property, which is column dash rule. The first value you can give it is the size. For example, if I give 5 pixels, and then you can give the style. For example, if I make it dashed, and then you give the color. For example, if I give green, and let me just remove the other 3 columns. If I save and refresh, it will now add a 5 pixels dashed green line, as you see here. So this is it for multiple column properties. If you have any questions, then do leave a comment and remember to subscribe. Thank you.